maybe we'll get started. Looks like we certainly have a quorum, so. All right, so good evening, everyone, and welcome to the August 3rd, 2015 meeting of the Merrimack Conservation Commission. I was going to say Mike's running a little late, but I guess not. He's here. So it is now 6:32 p.m. And the only announcements I have is that we're still looking for volunteers for the commission. We're still short one full-time member and 2 alternate members. So if anyone from the public is interested in serving and in having all the great fun that we have here every couple of weeks, please let Becky Thompson in the town manager's office know. So, any other announcements that anyone wishes to make? No? Okay. All right, so next on our agenda is public comment. Anyone from the public wish to comment? I think they're all here for an agenda item. So next then, we have no appointments, and we'll go straight to statutory and advisory business, and we'll pick up the dredge and fill application for the Sauhegan River riverbank restoration. So, Bob?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to come to the meeting. Follow-up meeting. We did a walkthrough one day last week with some members on my property. We're talking about the river restoration project at my Wilson Hill Road and off Turkey Hill Bridge. We've got some further information. We've assembled the abutters list for the commission, which may go, I guess, to Concord. The abutters list, I believe.
The abutters list is for DES. It's not for us.
Okay, that was cleared up finally. You all got the new package, the 33-page package?
I believe we did.
It's further information coming from Corey and Shane and Dr. John Fields. The 3 members that went with us the other day, I gave as much information as I could out. Does anybody have further questions on the restoration concept?
Actually, if you don't mind, could one of the members summarize the visit?
Matt, Mike, and I went down there and met Mr. Gabe at his property and walked the three sections, right?
Three sections, right?
That are impacted, and it's a severe erosion. In a couple places, they've already moved their road back from the edge of the river because it had fallen down. What was the road had fallen into the river, so it's pretty. You can see where all the silt is being piled up on the far side of this river too, from where it slowed down. So it was a informative, certainly a very interesting looking project. It's a nice alternative to the rock, the hardscape drop that they typically do, which we've tried that at a couple of other places in town, and it's really not very successful unless you drop a huge quantity of rock into it. So this, to me, is a very interesting method to do it. So I don't know if I mean, obviously it's a property that's being actively used and farmed, so this is it's an interesting project.
Anything else?
I described the concept of installing the log jams and a series of horizontal connecting logs and using the root balls to push back into the bank to hold everything in place and to slow the velocity of the river water down so that it redeposits the silt and sediment back against the river bank to slowly rebuild the river bank. We showed 3 different sections on our properties. Quite extensive projects. We'd like to do it this year, if it's possible. The water's still low. I believe I've chased everything to get everything in place pretty much. Tomorrow, in fact, NRCS is coming down with Fish and Game to look for special turtles to be sure that there's nothing that we're taking away from the river, nothing endangered. We will get that report as soon as they're done, Mr. Chairman. They don't anticipate it, but we want to make sure it's done right. And we did speak of this at the last meeting, I think, looking for anything that's endangered or whatever. Again, if you looked at the package, I do appreciate it. I wish I could explain further if there's questions.
I have a couple of questions. One for you, Tim. And sorry if this was explained. I apologize that I missed the conversation before, but I did go through the minutes and I did go through the packet to see what was discussed at the last meeting. But as far as process goes, what authority does this Conservation Commission have over this project, or is this just a recommendation that we're making?
It's just a recommendation. Basically, the law and the wetland rules from DES allow us to comment on the project and provide comments directly. It also provides us a window in time of opportunity to make those comments. So therefore, the project technically can't proceed without those comments. So there's two ways that the permit can be handled. It can be handled in the normal fashion for a standard dredge and fill, and there's rules what quantify standard, where the permit would be filed with the town clerk. We would be notified and provided a copy of it, and we would have 14 days to make comment, or within that 14-day window, we're allowed to ask DES for an extension up to 40 days to make comment. And then if we don't meet that 40-day deadline, DES will proceed without our comments. The other avenue that Bob can take is he can request an expedited permit, and there's a few rules that quantify what is permissible for expedited. And in doing that, he would come to the commission first with the permit, and once he's got it completely signed off himself, and he could request that we review the project and answer all questions, and we could sign off on the project at that moment before he files with the town clerk. And basically our signature states that we've reviewed it, we've had all our comments addressed, and we can tell, it tells DES that from our perspective it's good to go. So what we can comment on is completely open to us.
Okay, thank you. And I say, are we obligated to comment, or
No,
we have no comment?
A couple of projects we've come through and said that we have no further comments. The plans and permit address all our needs.
All right.
So.
Okay, thank you. It just seems like an incredible undertaking. And I don't know, I've never personally been involved with a project like that, or even overseeing it, or seen it implemented. So I guess I wouldn't propose to comment on the project itself because I don't know enough about it. It looks like, I don't know how you stop a riverbed from going where it's going to go, but I guess this is definitely a feasible possibility. But I saw in the minutes that someone was concerned about boaters, canoes, or kayaks, and I wonder if that safety concern was addressed when you went out for your hike.
I can address that because that was my concern. Before the 3 sites, there are 3-foot oaks that have fallen in because of the riverbank sloughing off, and that would get them before any of this log jam would. So it's really not a concern after going out and looking at it, because the thinnest part of the river is already kind of obstructed by some trees that have fallen because of the issues of erosion.
Yeah, I don't think that it's a major problem either, but I still probably think it would be preferable to mark it with some kind of tide float or something, like a little bit upstream.
We could put a sign out. We also going to have that log retention for oil purposes, strung out from site to site, in case there's any contamination, in case any little branch or whatever breaks off the trees that we're working with, and that will catch it. And don't forget, the river's over 100 feet wide. We're only working 15 feet out from the edge of the bank, and you guys saw the slumping and whatever. 15 feet from the cut of edge to the bottom of the bank, it's not that much. They have plenty of room, and they will know we're working there with the noise and the size of machinery. And it will be a safe project, a hard hat project. NRCS will be on site. Our engineers will be on site. You guys are welcome to come and visit. I'm sure DES will send a person to monitor and learn how this quote softscape is done with the trees versus using hard rock or steel or whatever the other options were in the old days. We intend on doing it safely. We're not here to create an accident. We are not here to inhibit them, but remember, as we spoke, we are going to plant those banks after we're done. So the canoes will not be able to really come through a new planting and create a trail. There's many more access or egress points that they can get out of that river. We would like that river our sites to relief and refoliate and harden off so that they do take roots and restore themselves. So from left to right, they're certainly able to access the land. On the 3 sites, I would not encourage it while we're working it, but please come and take a look. And I know you're concerned, Jody. I do. It is a big project. I can say this: I'm going to lose my property if I don't start something, and I appreciate if you hear me out and I don't know, get a feeling for what I'm trying to say here.
I appreciate how much time and energy you put into presenting the information to the commission, too. Thank you for that. I don't feel like I personally have enough knowledge about a project like this to really make any comments if safety concerns are addressed and things like that, that'd be the only thing that I would comment on. Thank you.
I would encourage all you guys, all you people on the commission to come and take a look at one point or another. It's an education process for sure, and I would believe the technology would be used again. So, on other sites, years to come. So, other questions?
No, as you said, it's something that's being done on the West Coast already, and there is some history here along the East Coast and down the Carolinas. They've done some of this. I was trying to find some information on it. My only concern is I know there's not going to be a guarantee, but the progression for this to happen, you're talking years. So are they going to be coming back yearly to kind of monitor and make sure it's filling in correctly? And
field geology would probably be coming back. If there's a little adjustment, hopefully the landowner could take care of that. Remember, these contractors, or the contractor we're proposing to use, has been doing this for over 20 years.
Right.
He's going to put it in as best he can, and we believe in what he does and his experience.
Also, not that it's any kind of linchpin, but are they providing you any kind of guarantee that this is, that this is going to hold up? This is, are they willing to come back and, rebuttress whatever needs to be fixed if something goes south?
I have not seen the proposal, Gage. I can't tell you.
I'm just curious. I mean, it's
a question asking RCS because they're into that end of it more than I am.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you mind explaining a little bit how that relationship works? Do you mind?
Natural Resources Conservation Service is a federal entity, and they're here to help farmers and landowners in many aspects of their operation. I started working with them 3 or 4 years ago, and more ideas came out. We are going to restore New England cottontails, a part of our property, and that's how my relationship started with them. And as they became more on site, looked around and saw other needs of the farmer per se, they made suggestions and got creative and got some ideas going, and it's evolved to this. The river is moving, and if I can't access the farm, there goes part of my livelihood. There goes part of my land area. There goes a lot of things, and it's their job to help in any way through many avenues. I mean, their arm stretches farther than anybody I know, and they can create a lot of good things with what they do and their experiences. And their contacts are forever, it seems. I mean, they're pulling federal people in. they find these engineers that we don't even know exist. A lot of years of good education being used, and their work experiences, and these people are available to a lot of other people in this town. They just don't know it or have not had access to it. I guess I'm one of the few that's been lucky so far that they found me and I found them. And this work experience will turn into something very positive in time.
Project.
So, just for info, DES is the regulatory body. So they have the inspectors and they have all the wetland rules and address the safety and what the machinery can and can't do, and how to mitigate for spills and things like that, which is a bunch of rules that they have to follow. So typically we haven't really spent much time commenting on that because we know they're pretty thorough about that aspect of things. So
Yeah, just to, reiterate, my safety concerns were public. In the future, is this going to be a problem? And after going there and looking at the site and Bob explaining to us where and what, I feel much better about the fact that it's not going to be a safety hazard. These the log jams, they aren't going to be like sticking out halfway into the river, grabbing boaters as they go by. And in fact, half of or a portion of his land has been deposited on the other side, and it's almost made a beach. So even if there is something sticking out, you can get out and walk on the beach depending on the water level. I mean, it's significant how wide it is where they'd be working, and the safety concerns that I had initially, just visualizing what it could be, were all all my questions were answered just by visiting the site. I got a good feeling that it'll be safer if the river, if the project is successful. It will definitely be safer, because you could have somebody right now climbing up one of those that looks like something you can climb on, and it could landslide on top of them. I mean, that's what's out there right now. It's not safe.
The slumping.
But yeah, the slumping. Future state, it would be much safer. So
it's been slumping since I was a kid, because I used to run down there and go fishing and stuff like that and swimming in there.
You probably took some in with you.
So, yeah, because I grew up off of Joppa Road. It was only a 10-minute bike ride.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So, way back when, back before you owned it. So,
Probably, yeah.
yeah. So, all right. So our task now is to decide if we'd like to make a comment on the permit or not to DES. If there's anything we'd like to relay.
I've looked through that permit. Looks like it's been a lot of in-depth research on their part, and I don't really feel there's anything I've got to say. I'm kind of in Jody's boat. This is something that's I don't have a lot of experience in this restoration of a river bank, so their permit to me looked pretty complete. So I've got nothing to add.
Is that the consensus?
Is
All right. Yeah, it is a little out of my my normal engineering, so. All right.
Oh,
So,
sure.
So,
I'd love to see.
Yeah, that would be.
yeah,
I like this. Yeah.
I talked to NRCS 2 days ago, and if we can move forward and get going with paperwork, we can do it this year. If it lingers after Labor Day, we may not do it this year. They're worried about high water, understandably, and getting those guys lined up to do it. We need some level of commitment, and I'd like to push the paperwork forward if it's okay with the commission. at least let
So-
it go upstairs and see what happens, you know, get signed off if you guys are willing to do that. I would hand deliver it to DES to keep the schedule moving forward.
So we really have two options here. I mean, theoretically, I could easily draft a letter to Frank and say, Frank, the commission sat with Bob, we met with him over 2 meetings, we've done a site walk, we've looked at it all, and that we have no additional comments we'd like to make, that we feel that, proper engineering's been done. Please do not wait on our comments. These are our comments.
Okay.
And then we don't have to worry about having all the right signatures in all the right place. You can take everything to Diane, and she can get the ball going, and our letter will be off, and he won't have to wait 14 days or anything like that.
That'd be wonderful. Yeah.
So, and the other option is we as a group can get together, but I'd have to sign all 5 copies of that permit.
Mhm.
So I don't think it slows it down by me not signing all 5 copies, but I don't know if you've heard anything different. So
What I'm afraid of that between here and there and 14 more days, we're gonna find Labor Day.
yeah,
That's in my head. That's my deadline, and I don't want to dissuade you, but every day I can save is a day forward,
okay,
and
right. Well, right. So
wherever I could help.
so do you have 5 fully signed copies?
I could sign 5. I mean, everybody has a copy, right? I have mine. If you guys want to give them up, or we can make copies. There's only one.
Wetlands permit application?
Talk about the other
Yeah.
permit.
We only have to sign
So-
1 page anyway.
Right.
have
Yeah,
to sign.
but you have to initial in a few places and stuff like that too. So
I do.
Yeah, so why don't we take a 10-minute recess and do all the signing and all that, and then we'll restart the meeting. It's now 6:54 p.m. Okay? So I will follow up with Frank at DES and just let him know what we did, so that way, even though he'll see the signature. Okay, so takes care of that item. So it is now 7:01, and we're back in session. And next on our agenda is Mario Fortin and Nitroff Investments. So if you could do me a favor, and can you sign my sheet and either provide an address or the name of your business? So this is in regards to constructing a storage shed on an existing lot to an existing building. And I must tell you, my set of plans was kind of hard to read.
Yeah, really hard to read.
I do have a bigger one.
Full one?
I do have a full one, yes. So, if anyone would like to see the full one as we go, I'll leave it right here. So, can you take a moment and talk about what it is you want to do?
Yeah. It's an existing slab on the side of the building on the north side, and I want to enclose it so I can put some material for my business over there. We own a drywall company. And right now, from the DW highway, we see everything, metal stud, game box, and everything outside. And I think it's a good opportunity to close it and refinish the outside so the building look nice.
Okay. So it's going on an existing slab?
Yes.
Okay.
If you can you kind of just point down the plan where it is? I want to make sure we're looking at
Yeah.
Is this
Is this it right here?
is it the dark? Is it dark
You see,
outline?
you see on the drawing they show abandoned existing survey.
Oh, yeah.
That's the slab. That's a 20 by 60 slab there.
Okay. All right, so the area in front of that is the actual building that's
Yes,
there
the first
currently?
one where they show existing 18, 19 square foot. That's the warehouse.
Yeah. Yeah. This is much clearer.
So is this going to have the same roof line, or is it going to?
Now we'll get a pitch it. The roof is like that now. We just gotta pick it right there.
Just like a shed dormer type?
Exactly, yeah. And we gotta put a garage door on the back. And from the street, we're only gotta have one window, that's it. So we can match the front of the building.
Okay, so the edge of the shed roof, are you using a gutter system or something to capture the rainwater?
It's nothing there now, so I'll probably use a gutter system.
Yeah, so one of the normal concerns of the commission is what happens with stormwater, and how is it controlled? Does it run off, and does it damage someone else's property if it's that close to a property line, or is it captured? And the ideal case would be to capture it and to find a way to get it into the ground, as it would have done if there was nothing there before. You know what I mean? That way we can try and get as much rainwater back in the ground, since we're all we all use well water here in Merrimack. So,
yeah.
So if you were to capture it with a gutter, I'm curious how you were going to take that water coming out of that gutter. Would it be flowing across
No,
the
I think
driveway
you
or the
gotta
parking
you
lot?
gotta make a drainage right there and do a crushed stone on the ground, so the water really go there, don't sit on the front.
Right.
You know, we can do that.
Like a dry well,
Huh?
like a dry well with gravel.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because we'd like to capture that water and send it into
Yeah.
the ground if at all possible.
You can do that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Are you proposing to do any landscaping with this project?
Next year.
Okay.
It's a lot of work right now.
Right. All right. I didn't know if it was part
Yeah.
of this project or not.
Now, I
Not on
just
the-
finished remodeling the inside,
Yeah.
and now I'm waiting for putting an addition right there. When this is done, I want to remodeling the 100% outside.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anyone have any comments? Do you want me to continue?
No, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So you know, when you go to do your landscaping, we would prefer, if at all possible, to use native plants as much as possible.
Okay.
Just they tend to grow better, they tend to last longer, like native trees and things like that. So if you look around your current property or see what's there, if you could kind of match that, but that's our preference.
Yeah.
We're not dictating you that you have to do that. Okay. The town has landscaping rules, and you might want to check downstairs with community development, but
Absolutely.
but,
Yeah.
but that would be our preference, I believe. So that, and if you're going to do grass, we really don't like the use of fertilizer unless it's really necessary, because people tend to overdo it, and then if it runs off your property, it could cause problems in other places. So if you decide you need to use fertilizer, one way to find out if you need to do it or not is you can utilize a testing service. There's a lot of places around here that will test your soil, and then see if you need to do anything with fertilizer, because you might save yourself money and not have
Sure.
to do anything.
Yeah.
So, but if you do, we always recommend a low phosphate, slow release nitrogen, and I can put these in comments to you.
I would
so
love
you,
to,
So
yeah.
you get that. So
Yeah.
so that would be a recommendation when you get to doing
I got
your
no problem to do that. Yeah.
landscaping. So because the less phosphate is good, because it stops some of the bad bacteria and other organisms that grow if there's too much phosphate in the water. So and we've had troubles in other part of town with that. So mostly closer to our rivers and ponds. So you're not that close to the river. Yes, the river is on the other side of the highway, but it's still far
right.
enough away. So are there any streams running behind your property or around your
Not that
property?
I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
One of my questions that I got for you, if I want to cut some tree,
Yeah.
because they're really, really close to the building right now,
Yeah.
and they kind of lean to the building, you guys have to approve that, or?
The commission does not have to approve that, as long as you're not working in a wetland. We don't have any
Okay.
part of that. So.
On your property, right?
Right.
Well, what I want to do, I want to call the other guy and find out where they are and everything,
Yeah.
and make sure I do the right thing.
Right.
All right, believe me.
Yes. Yeah, because you can actually be fined and penalized for cutting someone else's trees. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I notice on the slab there's a mention of a wash bay.
It's not there. We hire a survey. He's got to redo the whole drawing here. That's not there no more.
Okay.
So this is that drawing was 87. It's two other company moving after that drawing was done. So I got to get an updated drawing on that. This will be all disappear on the new set.
So no wash bay, no floor drain.
There's no floor drain there now. I can promise you. Yeah.
Okay.
There is a note here for the. There's a note here about the leaching system and drain. Where on the plan is that drain now?
You're gonna have to show me.
You said, well, up in the top corner, you got a note there about the inlet drain. So I'm assuming this inlet drain.
It's not there no more.
No, so that's
Yeah.
what formerly was here.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is, I don't know, was the company before. That company was I buy the building from a plumbing company.
Okay.
There's nothing there. The only thing is there is a slab, 100%.
Okay.
And I use it. The reason, like I say, I want to go because when you come from here, from
Right.
down DW, you see everything.
This is the entrance to the road, right?
Yeah,
Here, right?
yeah. It's not a road. It's a driveway. So I own that driveway.
And this is all pretty much all grass now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, just trying to get caught up on my notes.
That's good.
So, so, well, so there's no new building and there's no new parking, so there's no worries about snow removal and stuff like that. Do you? So, your business is a drywall company. So, do you have customers coming to your business?
Just delivery. That's it. Customer once a month.
Yeah. Okay.
We end it with the internet now. Nobody come to the office no more.
Yeah.
They all send email and everything.
Yeah. Okay. So we're always very concerned about salt and de-icing compounds and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Now, this is again not part of this project, but if you were interested in there is a program called the
Green Snow Pro.
Green Snow Pro, and what that is about is it's a program that's sponsored by the state, and if you're snow removal people, if you don't do it yourself, are Green Snow Pro certified. It actually gives you some liability in case someone falls on your parking lot because they say they fall on the ice or something like that. It gives you some liability and coverage and can reduce your liability insurance. So it's something you might want to be aware of in case you don't do your own snow removal.
I don't. The
Yeah.
guy behind me here, he own a Keep It Green.
Yeah.
He's the guy who's plow all that for me.
Okay, I see. Because so for the owner of the property, what that it gives them a cap on their liability, but also for us and for the environment, it trains the applicators on how to use salt judiciously, not to overdo it, and where to apply it and when not to apply it, and how to use sand as opposed to salt when you or other de-icing compounds. So what it does is it helps protect the environment, and it helps protect the landowner as long as they follow, and it's done by someone who's certified to do it. So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is good. The program's been expanded. It's run through the UNH Cooperative Extension. So, and if you ever have questions on it, please either let myself know or ask the folks downstairs.
Okay.
Okay. So I've kind of read through the planning board's comments because you've already been to the planning board on this, and I didn't see anything from them or town staff that alerted me. I just was curious of how you were handling the water. The water's the biggest thing for us on this project, I believe. So anyone have any other comments or questions? So what I'll do is I'll draft an email letter together to the planning board and the folks downstairs to talk about what we discussed about the gutter and the water system. And I can also make sure that you get forwarded my other comments about the fertilizer and landscaping.
Yeah.
And then then that's basically it. So I'll let them downstairs tell you how to implement the water stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Sorry if I dragged on. I just like to educate the public at every chance I can, and people about what other concerns we might have, even if they don't
That's good.
apply.
No, it's good.
So, okay. So let's put that part of the project away. Do you have the plans so I can put it back in the packet? Okay. So, moving right along to old business. The next item is the Ned Pipeline. Oh, before I do that, I should have noted that Cindy is excused tonight and was not expected to be here, so. Okay, so old business, Ned Pipeline. So, scoping meeting started last week. I know Gage had fun of being there, and Jody did, and I went to the national one. Did anyone go to the Milford meeting?
I did not, but I know that they turned hundreds of people away. The room, as we all expected, the room wasn't going to be large enough. I just wasn't sure how many people were going to show after the one in Nashua, but apparently they have a capacity of somewhere between 200 and 300 people, and they turned hundreds of people away that weren't able because it exceeded their fire safety codes.
Yeah.
So they did not have enough room for everyone. And I heard that one lasted until 1 o'clock in the morning, Tim,
Wow.
which was even later than the one that we stayed at until after midnight.
After midnight, yeah. Well, I guess the numbers are a good thing. Let's FERC know that people around here are serious about it. So, I do want to note that Eric Tomasi, I think I said that right. He said that there would be one more scoping meeting in New Ipswich or that area. So, later in the month. So hopefully some of those people get a chance to go anyways.
He said somewhere near Winchester.
Yeah. Okay.
So both Merrimack TV, many thanks to Merrimack TV. That poor cameraman stayed there for 5 hours and taped that meeting. It is on the Merrimack TV link to the town website. It's 5 hours of YouTube video. If you're interested in watching some of it, I like to go back and make sure I heard what I thought I heard, because it was such a long night. But Milford, they have a cable TV crew as well, and if you go to the Milford Town website, there's a link right there to the video of their meeting. I know one of the speakers at their meeting that I don't believe was at the one in Nashua was David Wheeler of the Executive Council.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think his comments were pretty important, and clearly FERC has no idea how New Hampshire state government works. They had no idea they weren't even going to let him speak. They had no idea what his position was. You know, it's like second in line to the governor. You might want to let him come up, but they don't understand how New Hampshire government works, clearly. But his comments, there's a transcription of his comments available online too. If you're interested, I can dig it up for you. But I thought his comments were really well done.
Okay.
So were yours, Tim, even though they tried to wave you on because you didn't get to speak when the elected officials got to speak. And they were a little bit lenient with a 3-minute time frame that they allowed you to speak, but Tim graciously waited to speak with the general public, and they were waving him on to stop talking and interrupting him, and I was mortified. But anyway, even though you said you were the chair of the Conservation Commission for Merrimack, they didn't care.
No.
Is that your picture in the paper?
My picture?
Was that you?
Was I in the paper?
You and Lon Woods and the Telegraph, too. If you watch the video of the meeting, Nancy, we spoke fairly close to the beginning of the meeting, the chair of the town council. Lon Woods, who's the chair of the water district, I thought his comments were really well done, expressing the concerns and the potential implications to the water district should this thing go through. So try to watch the beginning of the video at least to catch their comments. And then Tim's a little later on, but his comments were very good. And some other people got up from Merrimack too. Deb Huffman, and she spoke about the metering station and about Horse Hill. And there were I was really impressed with the amount of research, clearly, that people had done. There was some overlap in comments, but I didn't think a lot. I thought everybody brought some new angle and concern to the table, and I was just really impressed and proud with the people of New Hampshire that spoke. Not just elected officials either, but just people that this is going to affect or be in their backyard or not be in their backyard. Everyone was very articulate and had really great points.
No, I had no idea my picture was in the paper. Oh well. Yeah.
It was like a side thing. Yeah.
It was your good side, Tim, don't worry.
Couldn't really see your face.
I don't really go looking for my picture in the paper anyway, so. All right. So we have until August 31st to make any additional scoping comments. Now, Eric tried to be very adamant about the fact that doesn't mean we can't stop making comments in general, but I believe scoping comments, and please correct me, made by the 31st have to be addressed by Kinder Morgan as well, or just FERC?
That's what I understood.
Right. So that's why I think it's important that we get our comments in within the scoping deadline. So I did provide a hard copy of the written comments that you all got emailed. I will make the electronic filing this week. I just got tied up this weekend, and I didn't think it was time critical. So, but I will make the electronic filing, and you should all, whoever's watching it, should see it. So, we haven't had the pleasure of Cindy watching all the filings, but have you been watching all the filings? Have there been other people submitting their written comments, scoping comments?
Well, there's literally 35, 40 a day right now coming in. So there's a lot of comments going on. So I'm going through a lot of them. But there's comments. I mean, there's obviously the postcards too, not in my backyard type comments, which, again, that's a legitimate comment. But there's a lot of comments that are, laid out legally, so to speak, and what about this, what about this, what about this, what about this? So there's a lot of good comments coming through. And, kind of to what Jody just said, some of them overlap. The concerns are overlapping, but they're all addressing the fact that it doesn't address anything in this area. There's huge ponds, there's huge vernal pools, there's all these people, and they just said, oh yeah, we're just gonna we'll handle that according to New Hampshire DES. Like, they have no idea what's there, and so there's a common theme in the ideas, but they're from all different towns, and a lot of them are personal, or just residents that are putting together big documents with a lot of research into them, and it's there's some really good comments coming through.
Well, I mean, the two main points, who really knows for sure? Do any of us really know for sure what the criteria is? I've had some people say, the town council needs to address what the criteria is for approval of this. I'm like, yeah, well, good luck figuring that out. Two main points that I believe we're discussing, but I don't know for sure, is need and convenience. And I think a lot of people discuss the lack of need. There is no need, and a lot of the information out there, and there was a lot of discussion too, especially toward the end of the meeting. I thought it was really interesting how it got conversational after, closer it got to midnight, how it got kind of conversational and how he seemed to relax a little bit, and people were talking about, intentional misleading misrepresentation put out there by Kinder Morgan, and it's just not accurate factual information. And I think so many people just really discuss the lack of need in an intelligent, factual way, but then they talked about convenience, and once again they talk about co-location and least amount of disruption, and people, I don't know how those FERC representatives could have walked away from that meeting thinking that this particular route was going to be less disruptive than the one going through Massachusetts. If that's what they still think, and they do think that, they have thought that, because that's the comments that he made to all the delegation of all the town administrators that got together, as well. The whole reason we're doing this is co-location. The power utility line right away already exists. So if they still think that that's the case after listening to all of those people and the impacts that this could have on us, then they're deaf. They're not listening to anything we're saying at all. So.
All right. So, as you probably all saw from my written comments, there were things that people had suggested that I just didn't touch on, or aspects I just didn't get into. So I'm thinking our next written comments can now get into that level of detail or do other things. But we have to start putting it together. It'd be nice to have something near draft form for our 17th meeting, which, by the way, is going to be a long night. there's a lot coming up on that meeting. There's a number of projects and other stuff, so unfortunately that's where the timing works. So, so what I haven't had a chance to do is get a hold of Christy to see if she's drafted or put anything together, because she was kind of our point person, but I've lost control. I know she had a family emergency, wasn't able to be at our last meeting. She left me a message during the meeting, so with that, I guess we will continue to move forward. So does anyone have any particular things that they absolutely wanted to make sure that we addressed, or do we want to, just bring a bunch of different things together on the 17th, which I think is kind of late? I don't know how you want to handle this.
When you're saying things that did people email you with suggestions that didn't go in? Is that?
Yep.
I'm just curious about what it was that was suggested that.
Absolutely. Okay.
And I wanted to thank you, Tim, personally, for putting that document together. It was very thorough. It was really well articulated. It was concise, and I really liked the way that you gave specific suggestions to them about, just in case if this thing should go through, this is what we want you to demand from them. So I really appreciate, I know how much time a document like that takes to craft, so I personally want to thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Yeah, I felt it was extremely important that we told them what we think how we wanted them to act. Because later we can't say, but we really wished you would have done this. It's now on the record. We already told you what we want you to do. So, and I think our next set of comments has to follow in the same manner. We need to raise an issue and say, this is how we want you to deal with it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, right. So, okay. So, so one of the things that was brought up was blasting. Maybe making more suggestions on how they manage blasting. That came from Councilor Boyd. He wanted to, hit on the fact that we have our own blasting ordinance and that we have a butter notification and all of that.
I liked his comments. I could not really find much in the way of excavation in our town ordinance, and I don't want to limit our comments to blasting, because the minute you do that, now, well, we didn't blast. We used a jackhammer. We did this. What?
Right.
So, I just want to make sure that when we get into blasting, we are encompassing any removal of material from the ground or overhead or whatever. Yeah, right. Well, there's over 1,700 TBDs in that last document.
Yeah, I believe that's the one area that Bill touched on that and he also mentioned that I don't reference coordination with our fire department for any, except for third-party blasting responsibility. Okay, so if you've looked at our blasting ordinance, the fire department is key to that whole ordinance. Yep. They are integral in how the whole thing works, from bringing material into town and all that stuff. So all right. Tom he gave me some editing comments which were great, because I had, spell check sometimes helps you. So he also said, any consideration to mentioning the cumulative degradation of our resources and environment by this and other large-scale energy projects, which I think was well covered in a lot of places, but we might want to talk about any degradation within our own town. Does that make sense?
Did we talk about
Value?
No, I was talking about the fire department.
The need for training and...
Well, yeah, and I mean, that was just so apparent to me that you guys are on your own. But I think we have special concerns with emergency response in the woods, and some way to ask. I'm not sure exactly how I'd phrase it or want to ask it, but because they talked about, there's this brain station in Texas that everything's going to feed to. It's like if we've got an explosion or a huge fire in the woods, do we have the equipment first of all to get in there? So are they going to buy us some emergency equipment to deal with emergencies that might happen in a heavily wooded conservation area? I mean, what do they expect us to do, and what do they expect our fire department to do? If someone were to get injured, even while it's being installed or afterwards, and our emergency responders can't get in there, what are we supposed to do?
Well, we can find a way to fit that in.
What were you meaning about value, Gage?
Town value. Obviously, I think the town value across the whole is going to drop, but obviously the people certainly within sight of the pipeline and in the 1,000-foot, destruction zone, those homes are going to be, devalued, I think, tremendously. And I think it's going to impact the town overall, especially if we put it in a station, if we've got a venting station in town. So
you're saying the devaluation of the property is going to be less taxes, money coming in for the town, and less money for the people who own those properties.
Right.
Well, wait a minute. Careful how you say that. So if the overall value of the property in town goes down, that raises the burden on the taxpayers that are in the town, because a $60 million budget or a $70 million budget still needs to be met.
Right.
It'll just be met with less property value. Okay?
So that means every other town properties are probably going to go up. That
To make up the difference.
Well,
difference.
everyone's taxes will have to go up. The tax rate would have to go up to cover the difference. It's basically what it means.
Right.
So, okay.
So you're going to get property values dropping. Your taxes are going to go up. You're still not going to have gas infrastructure to your house, and then you're going to be paying a surtax on your electric bill to pay for the installation of this thing.
We don't know that for sure, Gage.
Oh yeah, sure we don't.
I'm sorry, my snarky comes out so hard with these people. The other point too that I really liked in the letter that we signed jointly with the other conservation commissions was the discussion about how people in the future are going to be hesitant to donate land to the town. If you hear about people, and a lot of people do that after someone in their family has passed away, and it's in memory of, and it's what this person's dying wishes were. And if they think that utility can just come in and install something of this magnitude, why would they want to give land for preservation or conservation to the town anymore? I think people are going to be very hesitant when we've especially got two properties that are so heavily affected by this project. And I think that's true of all the affected towns in the state.
Well, there was one person got up and spoke about that socioeconomic. He said, there needs to be a real, someone, or Kinder Morgan needs to go in and address the socioeconomic impacts of this product, of this project. And it was he spoke well. It was a good point. I think he eloquent, was very eloquent way he said it. So whether they need to do it or not is a whole other issue.
So Gage raised comments about radon. Do we want to address radon in our comments?
Well, your granite is
Right.
every piece of granite we have is ancient. So when you cut it and work it, it releases radon. It does release radon, and which is also potentially radioactive.
Mm-hmm.
So
We have a lot of arsenic in New Hampshire too.
yeah. So I mean, any testing. Every time we talk for testing, there's got to be baseline testing. That's got to expand a time frame. You can't just test today and say, okay, it's good today. Well, today was a windy day. What happened on a hot sunny day where it's no wind? I mean, there needs to be baseline testing over time, so you have actually a true baseline. So when they start doing any kind of work, you can continue to monitor that baseline against the same time period. And I mean, so that's,
And Deb brought that up with the potential site for a metering station is the continued regular testing for air pollution after that. Water table's a little different in New Hampshire than it is in Texas.
So, has anyone had a chance to learn more about the metering station from the latest submittal? Because I still have not successfully downloaded the whole thing, but I haven't tried in the last couple of days.
I get on the site and I get going, I get the window, it just sits there.
It is there a local download site? Has someone posted it somewhere else? Just curious. Didn't know if any.
Supposedly-
Didn't
You
know.
talking about the maps?
No, the whole next drop, all the environmental reports that were done. Has any of the pipeline groups put up a local copy of it?
Didn't, Tomas, didn't he say that you could get a copy of it on disk?
Well, you can get a copy of their EIS report once it's done.
Of their EIS,
we will all
of
we will all,
FERC's.
we're all on the mailing list. We all have been received notice. We should all get a CD in the mail of their report.
Of
And
a
if
FERC's report.
FERC's report
Not
when it's
Kinder
done, not
Morgan's.
Kinder Morgan's. But we can also request a hard copy of the FERC report. So I think at least one of us should do that, so we have a hard copy in the record.
Okay.
You know, however big it is with the color pictures or whatever. So, but that won't be coming out till after they've done it, which could theoretically be next year sometime. Probably next year sometime. So, okay. Yeah, if anyone hears of a local download, or if someone has it and is willing to burn some CDs or something, that'd be really great. Or let me come over with a thumb drive. Okay.
I haven't seen it though.
Okay. Because
Checking every day, I haven't seen it.
Because where I think it's important is we need to take a good look at the data that came with the maps for our properties. Because I think Deb noticed that they're right in the middle of a wetland, they're talking about doing something. So we need to comb that whole map through and say, can you really do what they're proposing right here, and comment on that. So.
It's with the maps, the way that I've been able to access them, it's almost impossible to really pinpoint what it is they're doing where. And I don't know how many people brought up the fact that, you know, their maps are outdated.
Right.
They're not in an electronic format that, you know, people who actually know something about reading the maps could even, you know, fool around with and figure out what's going on. It's impossible to really get an accurate reading from what they've provided with maps that are how many years old.
Yeah.
The initial map they suggested didn't even have the mall.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
Right.
Hey, we're gonna-
but I haven't seen it.
Well, it certainly makes their point of co-location and not disturbing anything when they don't show them all.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, right? Yeah. No, remember, everything's done for a reason. Okay. This is all about dollars here. So.
So are we? Yeah. Are we going to have, as far as our environmental impact study, is that August 17th? Are we planning on doing that, or what's the timeline for?
So talking to Jeff, and we'll talk a little bit more about it when we get to the next part of our thing. But what's pertinent here is that he will have a draft next week.
Okay.
Okay, so we will have that by the end of next week. We'll have a draft. The draft isn't going to have all the maps in it and all the things, all that extra data that is collected, but it will have all the pertinent points, the things that he noted, recommendations that he has, things that we might want to suggest that they do or not do, you know, impact recommendations. But he won't have all the wetland evaluations complete with all the check boxes and all that stuff. So what I wanted, and I felt that was okay, because what we really want is his comments, his observations, and an idea of what he has. He'll give us an idea of the species and other things that he's found, but he won't have any mapping in that draft report as to where they may exist, because when it gets to that level of sensitivity, I need to make sure that we do this and not and do the right thing for the
Right.
for the habitats and the critters and things that we have. But we will know all the critters and things found, and plants and things like that found, okay? Which should be adequate enough for us to make comment by the 31st. So, He also told me that he's doing work for the Regional Planning Commission that's west of us. I forget their name, what they're, if they're the Sauhegan or whatever they are, but
Oh,
but
yeah, it's
It might be.
Sauhegan Water.
not the no,
No,
but
that's the
no,
watershed,
he's
it's
doing
the-
stuff for the Regional Planning Commission up that way, and they're developing a set of comments and recommendations that he's going to share with us that we may want to incorporate into our recommendations. So there's more voices stating those same things. So. So we'll get that feedback from him. So that's the gist of what he has for the draft that we'll have by before the 17th, basically. So, and we'll have basically a week to take a look at it. So, hopefully,
Is that gonna be a large agenda item on our meeting, the 17th?
17th. Well, I'd like it to be, but like I said, we're gonna have a long meeting. Okay.
Will he be here to present, Jeff, or will Jeff be here to present, or?
I didn't ask him.
Okay.
Do you want to have him now, or do you want to wait till he gets the rest of the data together?
I'd rather have him wait till it's complete, but I was just wondering.
Yeah, I hadn't planned on having him visit yet.
But we'll at least have time to look at it and talk about it. Okay.
He's good about emails too, so if we have a list of questions, we can put them together and he'll respond.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Yeah. So that and phone calls. So.
Yeah.
I think that covers, because you're the other one who made the largest comments, so I think we captured them all. So, but yeah, I'm really curious with the maps and what's in the new environmental reports and what we should comment on based on what we see in that information. So if anyone talks to other folks in Merrimack who have seen the maps and they have some thoughts or they've seen things, ask them to forward them to you. Okay, that way you can bring them, or you can bring them forward to all of us. Ideally before the meeting, if you could just let the commission know, hey, so-and-so saw this in the environmental report. Maybe you should be more aware of that. So that way at least we can go looking for it. So, all right. So for the 17th, do we want to just wait and bring comments in? Do we want to start creating a document and work it? All right.
I'd rather. I'm not gonna be able to do it, so I mean someone else has to volunteer. But I wouldn't mind. I can certainly get my thoughts and suggestions to whoever,
Right.
and
Okay.
so we can.
So I'd like not to have an email meeting.
Right.
We're not allowed to do that.
Right. But I'm saying just.
But if you could push them to me,
Yeah.
I'll try to capture them and send out a draft of what I have together, even if it's just bullet points.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Probably, by Friday of the before the meeting. I don't think I'll have them ready for backup material. Okay. But just push, whatever. Okay. All right, what else did I have? Yeah, I'm really curious about the metering station, so, since that's the big infrastructure piece for our town besides the pipe, so. Okay. All right, any other comments on this agenda item? Okay, all right, so we'll move on. Takes us to new business, and new business is a trail maintenance project at Greater Woods, so it's all yours, Matt.
Okay, so in the packets, you had the quote from a contractor, and then to accompany that, you have the commission form and location map. So this is something we discussed in the July 21st subcommittee meeting for Greater Woods. It's something that we've been discussing as a subcommittee for quite some time, and it was also something that was to be addressed in the stewardship plan. The majority of the Red Maple Trail was resurfaced with an offsetting project with DES. This is the last bit of the Red Maple Trail that brings you up into Wildlife Opening 1. There's a somewhat steep hill there that's significantly eroded. I reviewed it with many members of the subcommittee. We walked it and then went back with a contractor that we had used in the past, Alpha Tractor, and he gave us a quote to repair that slope and also do some other small projects. I say small projects, small for him because he has equipment. They would be very large projects for the subcommittee, probably projects that we're not capable of doing. So having the contractor there to fix this slope and then adding the additional work, and he gave us a quote that was what I felt was very, very reasonable. I thought it was going to be quite a bit more than that. The only thing that we would need to have for him, and this is something that I wanted to discuss here, is a couple of loads of hardpack. So whether DPW or PWD, I forget which one it is these days, would be able to provide that, or something we would have delivered. Those are sort of the options that I did not get to prior to the meeting.
All right, so is that something you were going to look into?
I was hoping for a discussion here and suggestions here, and
Hard pack, you mean like a gravel?
like the surface of like the surface of Gateway and the rest of Red Maple. What's there is topsoil with between 1 foot and 5 feet of boulders sticking out of the ground. It's that eroded. It's just boulders, and it's from the years of motorized vehicles going up and down that area. And it was initially, I believe, that was a skid trail. So the skidders were pulling logs up that hill and just moving all the earth and exposing these giant boulders. So that's what you're looking at, is the tops of the boulders.
That was a short-term skid trail. They used it initially to get the first machines down, and they moved it over 15, 20 feet to that's where the big,
to a good skid trail.
To a real skid trail. Yeah.
Is that trail project going into that area? Isn't there an Eagle Scout trail cutting over from there?
That would be well off of this area. And this the proposed use of this piece of trail is all uses. So this is a motorized trail, and as we introduced it to the contractor, and as we discussed it as a subcommittee, we want to keep it that way. So it would need to be built so that the hard pack would withstand motor vehicle traffic, and it's safety as well. Right now, if ambulance or a woods vehicle for the fire department would have to get down there, I don't think they'd make it. After this rehabilitation project, they would, and then it would be consistent with the rest of Gateway and the rest of Red Maple. So you'd be able to get an emergency vehicle through there now. This is the only area, and we're talking 400 yards, but that's the only impassable area right now. Once it's rehabilitated, an emergency vehicle would be able to access the lower part of Red Maple from Wildlife Opening 1. So for safety, it's this would be a big improvement. And for a lot of folks that have come to the subcommittee meetings and members of the subcommittee have expressed their interest in having this fixed because of there's a lot of trail runners on the subcommittee, and they don't like running through this area. Everything else is great. This one 400-yard section isn't good. So
Did he give you any kind of idea how many truckloads of gravel, how hardback he needs?
he said 210 wheels.
I don't know how many yards that is, so
I'm not sure either.
probably
We have it.
anywhere from 10 to 20 yards, probably.
Yeah, we have it, because that's the original quote that we got to do all this work back a couple of years ago. We have that in a spreadsheet, is how many 10 wheels, how much yards and everything, so. I can go back and resurrect that, I can find that.
So back to wanting comments. I think we're better off having what we want trucked in, because we get what we want.
Mhm.
Not unless there's a borrow pit, and it doesn't sound like a borrow pit would cover this, because it's not the right material.
No, not the right material. He even looked at the areas that we had
Yeah.
used in the past, and he said, no, this isn't going to work. This is going to,
Yeah,
it's
that's
going to
really-
result in the same
Right,
problems.
they'll all wash away.
Yeah, that's really a lot of sand.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said something very similar to the 3/4 minus that is on red maple. He said, this is what we want. And he said, so wherever you got that, have 2 loads at the top of the hill when I come, and it'll be done.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
So that I was hoping to find. I even went back in previous, and I just couldn't find where we had the quote
Mhm.
for, but I think it was part of, it was all dumped into one quote that we got
For the
And there was-
for the hardback.
for the hardback.
Yeah,
It was,
I can find an old price for it, and we do, if we can't get it from PWD, we do have a local contractor that's, they were willing to do it the first time, so I can call them and find out if they're willing to truck it again for us.
Yeah, and then we have to coordinate the gate.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
And he believes that he could do the work from the other gate. That he, the one at the top of conservation.
okay.
Because part of this is also fixing the drainage swale on red maple that we haven't been able to address with our forester. He said that he could do that work in addition. So that would be going one way
Mhm.
and then coming back the other way to finish this project.
I don't have it. I'll have to.
Right. So what's the desire of the commission then?
Sounds good. Go ahead with it.
What's his time frame?
This year?
Yeah, because we're gonna have to get the map. The hardback decision quickly.
Before school, yeah.
Well, before school, but I mean, it's just saying, is it going to be? It's going to be before. Probably not. When's school start? Do you know when school starts again?
This is the first year I don't care. It's after Labor Day, so it's what's the Monday, the Tuesday after? Is it the 8th of September? So
Something
we
like
got a
that,
little
yeah.
extra time.
They're all done now, huh?
Oh yeah, there you go. You're right. It's September 8th. Good. See, you know. My wife put it on the
I have
calendar.
August 28th in my head gauge. That's when he moves out. That's my D-Day this year. Crying in my coffee.
That's it. Empty nester.
The boys leaving me.
Yeah. So that's the 8th. So we're talking, because we're already now August 3rd. So you're talking the 17th before we can make another decision. And you're going to be a week or so sometime in there. So it's going to be towards the end of August before we can even say yes to this.
Why?
So
We can approve it today.
well, so how are we going to approve the funds for hardpack?
Not to exceed whatever.
Do you have any idea?
What
A 10-wheel load costs?
Is that
I
twice? I don't know. Is it 20 yards? I mean,
We have no idea. I have no idea how to put a price tag on it.
So we don't. We just say whatever it is. It is what it is.
And we say, yes, we're going to approve it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't see a problem with that.
Okay, I'm just saying, it's gonna be, you know, someone's gonna have to commit to X number of funds, and we're just gonna have them write a check? And we have to have them pull a check when we get the
Yeah, I mean,
quote?
right, if it's big dollars, either the contractor's gonna have to live with the 30-day net,
Yeah.
or if they want money right up front, then someone's gonna have to throw out a credit card.
So we can potentially cross that bridge when we come to it then,
Okay.
no pun intended.
Yeah, I mean, the other thought is the town may have an account that we therefore then agree
Yeah.
to cover, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it would be a good discussion to have with Paul McCallie as well.
Okay.
Even if it pushes us to supplier A as compared to supplier B, we may want to utilize that if that gets it done. Right?
Yep.
Odds are we've got an account with someone that's going to give us a good deal, so I'm not afraid about cost. So
Do you want me to ask? Or Gage, do you want to do that all as part of the same thing?
I'll call Paul,
Call
I'll
Paul.
find out.
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a simple question, he's gonna be yes or no,
Right.
so,
Say this is what we need. We want to
Yeah.
get it delivered. How can we get it done?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So, motion to approve the quote as listed, along with 2 truckloads of hard pack that we have price to be determined,
Yeah. Fund 53.
Fund 53.
Second.
You good?
Any discussion on the motion? It's moved by Gage, seconded by Mike. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Okay.
Passes 5-0-0. Okay. It'd be good to get this hole fixed,
Yeah.
basically. It's a
Mm.
hole in our trail system, so.
And that brings me to one other little piece. With this and all of the work that the subcommittee's done in the last 2 years, we have amended. We've
Suggested an amendment?
suggested amendments to minor amendments to the stewardship plan, and a major amendment to the Appendix E, which is the proposed trail projects. Most of them are done,
Mhm.
so we want to pull the ones off that are done, add one more, and sort of reprioritize, reorganize Appendix E. So I was going to have that ready for the next meeting, but it sounds like that's going to be a very busy meeting. So maybe it's best to hold off to September. Do we only have one meeting in
Only
September?
one meeting in September.
Okay, so we'll have it ready for the September meeting because the subcommittee meets again. So we'll really fine tune Appendix E suggestions
Okay.
for the committee and make sure I get that to you before the September meeting.
Right.
We could try to press forward and get it done anyways, and just send it to it. 'Cause it's something we could send prior to the meeting. If everyone's got to read and no questions, it's going to be a simple vote.
Well,
So, because we have to bring the appendices, we did not have to bring to town council.
it was part of the package.
I thought those were just going to be notification, and then the package, the stewardship
So-
plan itself, where, because
Okay.
we're the stewardship plan. This isn't my understanding. The
Okay.
stewardship plan was how we're going to get things done, and that was what the agreement was, is how this is going to go forward. Then the appendices are this is what we're doing. They're doing this. No.
Okay.
You're
So 2 points. The stewardship plan was accepted by the town council, but we did not need their approval. Okay? All right? Because we are the management body for the property, and in fact, some of the parcels we own outright, so. So the process of going through the town council was to get their input, and we wanted their approval. We wanted them to buy into it. But technically, all we needed was their acceptance. So I think it would be very good to include them in the process with the update. What I think is probably good for historical reasons, if nothing else, is to not eliminate the items that are done, but to create a new appendices and say, these are the projects we've completed.
Yeah.
Originally were found, you know,
We're not deleting those all.
right, yeah, so just, I mean, you can either add on to it and say done, 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 or you can move them and say to Appendix G and say this is the completed projects appendix, just so we don't lose the historical fact.
We're not taking it.
Right, and then upgrade or update E to reflect these are what we're doing. And once we as a commission, I believe, reach consensus that we approve of the updated plan, we should bring it forward to the council and make them aware that we've made these adjustments, and if they would like to have a discussion, that would be happy to come meet with them. They may feel that it's minor enough that they don't need to meet with us, right? I would think this level would probably fall in that category, but we can certainly open the door. And we can have the same discussion with the school board as well, if they'd like us to come visit with them as well. So, any interested party, really. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that sound like a plan forward?
Yeah.
So, if you want to discuss the update, though, I'd really like you to meet the deadline for backup material, which is 10 days before the meeting, so it can be part of the backup. And that way, anyone who wants to come in and look at our agenda can see all that information and provide us comment on it.
So would you suggest we create a second appendix for completed projects?
That's my suggestion. We'd have to add it to the table of contents, obviously.
Okay.
There's a new appendix.
Because I could,
We ought to do one of these. You know, we got it done.
yeah, I agree. Because
Right.
some of them are major.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that also, I mean, because so much work that's been done by this body over the years, there's no record of it anywhere.
No.
So this way you don't eliminate the written record, you know, for all the work that went into that plan and for all the trail work. This way the record stays there and you don't lose that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're updating the information. So I agree with Tim.
And I almost think, you know, a good idea popped up when you were talking about this. We have all the dates for what we've done. We could create this new appendix and say, here's the project, here's the date that it was completed, and also add in scout projects,
Oh, yeah.
the dates that they were accepted, and the project, a description of the project.
Yeah, we haven't put any of the scout parts.
No, I think that's a great
Yeah, I'd like to.
place for it. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So maybe we will have to wait till September because it sounds like we have a little work to do now. But I think that's easy enough to gather with the minutes that we have. All right, great.
Yeah, and you know, further down the road, someone could say, "Hey, we need to do a project like that one, or like this," and someone could say, "Yeah, well, we know the Greater Woods folks did this, and because it's here," and then they can go back to our records, which are downstairs, and say, "Well, what did they really do?" And they can get all the detail. So, for as much detail as we've been able to hold on to. So,
Hmm.
yeah. Okay. Anything else on this agenda item?
No, great. Thanks.
Okay. So that takes us to other business. First item is an update on the environmental impact study that Jeff is doing. So like I mentioned, Jeff plans to provide us a draft for next week. He said he's still completing the wetlands evaluations, as in doing all the paperwork. The other thing is well, let's call it the bad news then. So Jeff needs more money to finish. So, basically,
I think we initially allowed you a 10% overage or something like that.
we did, yeah, and then I absorbed a good portion of that when we all agreed to the extra work for the transmitters, right, and stuff like that. So, basically Jeff says his budget stands with approximately $200 left in it. He said additional time was allotted for bird, plant, and turtle surveys, as well as wetland evaluations, and that there were significantly more wetlands and vernal pools than was originally anticipated. So he said so that he hasn't had a chance to do the meeting, come visit with us as well. So he believes he needs an additional $4,500 to complete the tasks and to get all the reports done as originally done. And then he also wants to know if we'd be willing to spend the additional money required by the botanists and other folks to file the rare species observations within the New Hampshire National Heritage Bureau. He said, and those consultants would require an additional $2,000. So, in general, he's asking for $6,500 of additional money to make sure that all the things that have been found are properly documented with the Heritage Bureau, and to complete all the paperwork and get everything together. So.
Heritage Bureau is now going to give us a copy of the database for our own town as to what's here that's been identified as.
For everything that be beyond what we've identified?
Yeah.
I don't know.
If we were to approve the $6,500, what would the total expenditure be, Tim? Do you know?
It would be roughly 38,000. Because I know we were at 29, and then we added.
10%.
Yeah.
So.
Right. So. Yeah. I can
Town's
get.
over 41,000 in attorney's fees too. I'm keeping track of these numbers, and I've
Yeah.
got a conversation with somebody from AYAT's office
Okay. Yeah.
on
Because.
Wednesday. I'm making sure he knows about how much money we're spending.
Because of the pipeline, basically.
Yeah.
Because of the pipeline.
Yeah. So no, everyone
Gotta
should
justify
recognize
need.
that we also expanded the level of this project to cover our entire property. So
Right.
it wasn't just the area
Right.
that was under direct stated
Yeah,
impact.
we definitely caused scope creep. It was our own doing.
Right. But now we have all the data on our property.
Yep.
So.
Well, two. He didn't
Two
do
properties.
two
He
properties.
He did Gilmore Hill as well.
Right, he did
Absolutely.
both. So
Right.
it's a big acreage wise. It's a large space.
So, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't discourage him from doing, covering all the wetlands, because I believe that was the intent that we wanted. We
Right.
wanted to have all our wetlands covered, and we wanted to make sure we looked for all the birds and plants, life and all that stuff. So,
I can't help but think that filing any rare species is just going to be an advantage for us also.
Oh, absolutely.
It's
yeah, because that means when they go to pull their permits, they have to follow our DES permit process, because that's a state process, and that will force them, because it's a requirement on even the one we looked at today. They have to go to the National Heritage Bureau and say how they're going to mitigate any critters or plant life found, and these will pop right up because they'll now be part of the record.
And you asked a very good question at the scoping meeting too about how do you identify those without
Right.
letting everybody know.
Yeah. Yeah. So, at the end of the meeting, he gave time for a couple of people to ask a second question. So or make a second comment. I jumped up and asked him a question, and I said, "So how do we handle sensitive information that if we said, hey, we found, these," and you can
Right.
obviously catch my comments by looking at the video, but basically said, how do we handle that? Is there a way we can let you know without having to tell poachers and other people where they are? And he said that we could submit a privileged comments that FERC would be able to see, but he also alluded to the fact that if they made decisions or thoughts on those privileged comments, they can't then divulge them and to say why they would do that. So he suggested that we put general comments in the public record, so that way it's noted, and then if we want to submit privileged comments for specifics, that we could do that. So I'd like to actually get a read from Joanna about that.
Yeah.
Okay? Is that
Oh,
something?
I think that
is
would
that
be a
something
good
you
idea.
could ask
Yeah,
her?
I can ask that. Yep.
Right. So, because I want to make sure that they know what we have out there, so they know what they have to avoid, or at least mitigate for. According to Jeff, some of those turtles go everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay? Right? And that's information that we're going to want to be able to share, because that's very pertinent to what's going on here. So. And Jeff reiterated to me on the phone, he says, things change over time, over the year, and I tried to address that in my comments, though. What you see for vernal pools today doesn't mean that they're there tomorrow. And Jeff said, today's the worst time of the year to be looking for vernal pools right now because a lot of the evidence is gone right now.
Yeah.
So timing in the year is a big thing as well, so.
We've had almost, 26 days without rain or something like that, with
Yeah.
considerable rain, so.
Okay, so I was just looking online, and Jeff did send me a work order update for.
What?
Yeah, so like I said, I think that number is about right that I gave you, so.
So we're
I'd
looking
like
to
to-
add
I'd like to-
$6,000.
Yeah, I'd like to move that we agree with the work order update for $6,500 for Jeff Littleton from Fund 53.
Do we need to do the same thing again as to add the 10%, or do we feel that's?
I asked Jeff to be as good as he could get, so I don't have to do this once, but you can do that, yeah, with
With
Let-
the
with-
$6,500
with
plus
a 10% latitude.
10%, yep, for the project manager, which would be you.
Okay, all right.
Second.
So moved by Tim, seconded by Matt. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. So.
Be off this thing, just make it
Yeah. So that's all I have from Jeff on this part of the agenda item. So next down, other business, invasives for Brookside Drive. Last I knew, Mike I gave him the signatures he needed to apply for the wetlands permit for spraying in the wetland, and he was pushing that through. I'm still trying to get an idea of what the date is to do the spraying. But I'm thinking that we may have to have the opportunity at our August 17th meeting to have the public come in and talk to us. And we may need to get a letter out very shortly to let the public know that we're planning on doing this.
Yeah, I was going to say, when we did it last time, I think it was good. I think we came in here with a angry group of folks, I think was the initial comment for the most part. They were pretty annoyed that we were going to be spraying. There was a couple people, one person in particular, she was very concerned about the date because she's got some severe allergies. And we had at least two people that were beekeepers. So once we decided that we could let them know the actual date, so the bees could be kept in the hive, and she could be gone from her house for the day, it went pretty well. So I think just for that reason, I would like to make sure we get a letter out prior so people can make plans accordingly. Because we did find out that stuff was, the combination of spray was not potentially bothersome to the bees, but still, there's no reason to tempt fate. So it went well, because we only heard back from a couple of those folks, and they were very pleased about the fact that we got in touch with them. So that was the only fallout from that, so to speak.
Yeah, so I would like to have a letter, and I would like to let people know that we have a meeting on a particular date if they want to come and address any concerns. So I think that's important.
Yep.
Because there may be new concerns, maybe new neighbors now
Yep.
than there were last year, so.
I think it'd be worthwhile if we have a letter like that we can include the fact that this is going to be done just the way it was last time. We can get from Mike to make sure that we're using the same chemicals, and so people know.
Okay. So I'm going to get more definitive info from Mike when he thinks that the permit will come through. The permit really dictates, because this year we really need to make sure we get down by the water. Because if not, we'll have to do it yet again, which we may have to do one more time anyways, because depending on how much more is grown up. But so that may dictate whether or not we do it at our September meeting or at our August meeting. I'm just afraid if it's our September meeting, we'll probably end up doing the spraying within a few days of that meeting, because once it gets too late into September, everything's already starting to die and fall back. So more to come on this, but we may end up doing even more on the 17th, just for this. So, but I also want to give people enough time to react and say, oh, they've got a meeting on that Monday night. I don't want to put the letter in the mail and they get it on Friday and the meeting's on Monday. That would not be a good idea either. So So we'll see.
We could, I mean, we've got the letter.
Essentially, we do, yes. I want to update it a little bit, so that way people know that we're planning on doing the same thing that we did last time, okay? And all the who came out also knew that we told them that knew we would have to do it at least one more time. So if they remember that, they may not be as concerned this time. You know, and I can add to the letter that we will address the concerns of anyone who needs to know prior to and all that as well. So I'll expand the letter a little bit. So, all right, so I'm going to be putting that together once I get a better idea from Mike when we think we're going to do it. So, okay. Horse Hill parking lot wetland delineation. At our last meeting, we approved to go forward with that. I'm actually slowing this down. I haven't done all the signatures and everything I need to do to turn Tracy on. So, but I will do that this week. So the scoping meetings and other stuff last week just threw me for a loop. So what's going to come out of that is they're going to do the work and we're going to have the training session. So be looking for that. I told Tracy and I've told the folks downstairs that we want to do that off hours that work for us.
What do you think, roughly?
She,
Weeknight, during the weekend?
I was thinking a weekend, but is there a thought? Is there a preference? Because you know, by the time we get later this month, we start losing the sun 7:45, 8 o'clock at the latest. So I mean, look outside now; it's 8:15. I know it's probably cloudy, but it's fairly dark at this point. So, and I'd like us to be able to see it and ask questions. So I'd rather do it on a Saturday or something like
I
that.
think a Saturday would be better for me.
Okay.
So
Does the Saturday before Labor Day work for people, or is that too busy?
Labor Day weekend?
So the Saturday before, yeah, not Labor Day weekend Saturday, but the Saturday before that.
I'll be gone.
The 29th of August? Yeah?
Yep.
All right, so I guess that's not going to work. All right. Does
So the fifth is that's the Saturday of
The Cape vacation.
That's the
What
Saturday.
is
So
the new
next Saturday is the 12th.
12th?
That's the Saturday after Labor Day weekend.
Yep.
That's a ways away now, but
it is a ways away, yeah. Yep. All right, I can ask her to move forward with that. I'd like to do it early in the morning, though, you know, early as in like 9 o'clock.
how about next Saturday?
She wants to do the work.
How long does it take to do it?
To do the delineation?
Yeah.
I don't know. So what do we have for Saturdays? We have,
We have the 15th,
I mean,
22nd.
so today's the 3rd, so we've got one, right, so the 15th? How's the 22nd sound? I mean, that's still a couple of weeks out.
They'll plan it around me.
Okay.
That's going to be.
No, I'll be here.
You won't be here on the...
Hang on. I will be here.
That's going to be. I probably won't be able to make it through.
Okay.
I don't know the schedule. I just know there's something going on. I don't know exactly the time.
All right. All right. So it kind of sounds like the 12th of September is better.
If you are interested in having people who might want to come for the training session, just say August is vacation time.
Yeah.
So
Right.
pushing it into September, if you're doing it on a Saturday, I mean, the weather's still going to be nice.
Right.
So if you want more people to attend, possibly that would have an effect.
Yeah. So 15th, 29th, or 12th.
No, it sounds like the 12th is the only open Saturday that we have right now.
What's wrong with the 22nd? Oh, you can't.
Nothing. I mean, obviously, guys, it could be done without me, but I.
Okay. Okay. I didn't.
But there's a
I-
good.
I-
If you guys, if
That's fine.
that's the date that works, then that's the date that works. We can do it. But that is the day I know that I'm.
Okay.
Well, the 12th works for pretty much everyone.
Seemingly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. I may have to leave slightly early if it drags on, because I have a wedding later that afternoon, so.
You don't want to go smelling like
I'm not in the wedding, so I just have to watch.
Stay in the back of my baby.
Exactly, yeah. That's it. Just say, hey, Sounds about right.
Okay.
7th and 21st.
Well,
Well,
not the
not the
first.
7th.
We're not meeting on the 7th. It's a holiday.
It's a holiday, so I can
Right.
do that.
Yeah, take it off the Google Calendar too. If it's on.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
I have to do it next year.
Okay. All right. So we picked the 22nd for the wetland training, and I'll work that. Okay.
August 22nd?
September 12th.
September. Sorry. September 12th. Yes. Thank you. All right. It's September 12th. It's just poor Dawn who's trying to do the minutes.
She does a great job, by the way.
Did Tracy give you any indicator of how long that's going to last? Is it an hour, 2 hours?
I think she allotted 2 hours for the class. So, and I do want to let folks in town know, town inspectors and stuff know that we're doing it and give them the opportunity. You know, if we're spending the money, so. All right. I have really nothing more to add on the management plan and preparations of forestry plans. Tomorrow we meet with the planning board. You all should have gotten a copy of the agenda. Bring your questions. Okay. Bring your notepads. Prepare to be
So
educated.
it's 7 o'clock, right?
7 o'clock. Yeah.
Across the other building.
Yes.
Next door
Yeah.
upstairs.
Yeah. So the next item is on the 17th. Like I mentioned, we have a busy meeting. We have Piscataqua Land Trust folks, or Land Conservancy, coming. We're going to be talking with Kyle about the Bean Road Bridge. That probably will have to include a non-public session as well. I'm trying to resolve that because we are both part of the planning process with DES and a wetlands permit, but we are also in a butter to the parcel, and there'll be an easement required on our property. So there's a double whammy there. Also, I know Pennachuck Waterworks has a project at the south end of town that they want us to hear before it goes to the planning board. And that's what's coming up on the 17th. I do have one other item under other business. Today I forwarded to all of you a pamphlet about a wetlands, and it didn't print very well, but basically there's or an invasive species. I did it early this morning, I think. I forwarded it.
7:30 a.m.
Yeah. Yeah. No? Okay. All right. So there's an invasive species meeting coming up on the 12th, sponsored by the Sauhegan River Local Advisory Committee in Milford. If folks are interested, you can register using the link I provided in the email. It's free, but they just want to have an idea of who's coming. It's going to be done at the Wadley Memorial Library in Milford. So, all right. And anyone from the public who's interested, feel free to look it up or give me a call or send me an email. So,
Sometimes my emails come through like 8-10 hours later after
Yeah.
you send them, so I'll check again.
okay.
It's probably in there somewhere. Okay.
Yeah. So, okay. Anyone have anything else under other business? All right. So that takes us then to, I did get something in the mail today. I passed it around. I have not had a chance to look at it. But that takes us to the minutes of July the 20th. Has everyone had a chance, or the people who are interested had a chance to review the minutes? Okay, so I would like to move the minutes with amendments.
Second.
Seconded by Matt. All right, so I have a few amendments. First one I have is on page 3, line 53. Right in the middle of the line, there's a sentence that starts, Mr. McCabe noted, Kyle Fox. Mr. McCabe really should say Mr. Blatchford. Mr. Blatchford was presenting at that time. Mr. McCabe had already left the meeting, so that needs to be updated. Next one I have is on page 7. Line 8. The very first word in that line, Chinese, should be changed to Japanese. Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute, what is it, Chinese or Japanese? I can't remember. I Googled it.
I probably said it wrong. It's confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you think you said it wrong?
Might have.
Okay.
Knowing me, I
All right.
might have.
So you meant Japanese, so we'll make the fix, okay? Okay. Next is page 9, line 58, as well as page 10, line 1. Brian Johnson. Do you know if that was an S-E-N or an S-O-N? I think Johnson is S-E-N, except
Where are we?
for some reason it just stuck in my head, but I went looking. I have it on my computer, but I didn't get a chance to get back to my computer today to double check.
I have Brian Johnson, that's, right, you saw the number when you referenced
No,
it?
no. You have an S-E-N,
I
right?
have Brian Johnson, that's the end.
Yeah, okay. So why don't I do this? Why don't I will double check it and I will let Don know after the meeting whether it's S-E-N or S-O-N for these two locations, all right? And then the last update I have is on page 10, line 17. Oils should be soils. So that's the very end of that sentence, to address soils. Did I go too fast? Okay. So anyone
Yes, I read that.
have any other change? Yep.
Yep, on page 5 of 11, sentence number 23, just insert, let's see, one of the concerns Chairman Harrington will bring up is the fact that we don't know which plan is being addressed. I think it just makes it a little more clear. And then sentence number 32 and 33. See, in addition to the impact to our wellheads,
Yeah. Okay.
and for elementary school, could we be specific, Thornton's Ferry School?
Yep. Okay.
And you got the Japanese versus the Chinese. That's it for me, thank you.
I wasn't here, but I have one question.
Yep.
On page 4, line 13,
Yep.
typically these soils at less than 2 units, sometimes less. I'm assuming that's supposed to be, say, drained in there?
Drain or perk?
Percolated drain
Yeah.
or something to that effect?
Yeah. Percolate would be the right word because it's used earlier.
Line 25 in the same page could be probably clarified to, comes back negative for,
Yeah,
So what Matt was referring to was the stormwater report. As long as the stormwater report shows a negative impact to the flows, you had no issue with it, right?
or is flow is less than before.
Yeah, it flows less than before. So as long, but I think she captured what you stated though.
Yeah.
So
So I knew what it meant, but I didn't think someone reading it
yeah.
outside of us would know what it meant.
Okay.
I think she does a great job
Yes.
Yeah.
with the minutes for not being here especially.
Yeah. Anyone have anything else? Okay. All those in favor as amended signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? So that passes 4-0-1 with Gage abstaining. Okay. So next on the agenda is public comment. The public has left the building. Commissioner comments. Jody?
Thank you. I just wanted to give an update because under correspondence at our last meeting, we talked about the DOT presentation. on improvements on 101A from Craftsman Lane to Continental Boulevard. They sent out a notice for it wasn't a hearing, it was just kind of like an informal meeting they had last week at Town Hall, and I attended, and it was Police Chief Doyle was there. I'm trying to think who else was there. A couple of other employees of the town that might have some input and say into it. They presented a very large map, and I haven't checked to see if we have it in the town manager's office, but they said they would leave one with the town manager's office if anybody was interested. Basically, the intersection of Continental Boulevard with 101A, they're going to be adding lanes. Specifically is what they're going to do. If you want real specific information, I can see if I can get a hold of the map for you.
Boulevard or adding lanes to
To
101?
101A, they're going to be adding lanes, some turn lanes, and they talked about actually changing, where the road is by the church, the little triangle. They had a couple of different suggestions about actually like eliminating the first crossover road completely and changing the angle of where it enters into Severance Bridge. Is that down there? Is that where that is?
Well,
Oh my God, I live
no,
right there and I
that's
can't remember. I'm
Boston.
drawing a blank.
That's Craftsman Lane in
Boston Post Road. Thank you. But then some other people had some insight into that, and then they also talked about adding some sidewalks and some crosswalks because people said that there's no way pedestrians could cross that intersection, and there are people that do want to walk across that part of the road. But then the other thing that was, I think, pretty much the eye-opener for me was they said this is on a 10-year plan. They've been talking about this for years, and they anticipate the work to possibly be completed in 2024. Possibly. If they get enough input and think, it could always, depending on budget, because budget's a big issue right now in Concord, depending on what the budget is. But I have the gentleman's name from the DOT. I didn't bring his business card with me tonight, but if...
Fourth graders will be graduating high school?
Yeah. So there's a possibility it could be moved up a few years. But if they're going to move forward with it, they do have to have a formal hearing in the town, and then they have to present to the town council as well. So all of that. This was kind of like an informal, trying to get feedback from people. And I was pleased because I know sidewalks is such a sore subject in Merrimack, and depending on who you talk to. But I'm in support of people that ride their bikes and people that walk. And I think we need safe places to do that, and I don't think we have hardly any, if nearly enough. So there were several people that lived in that vicinity that talked about how they would like to see, if you're going to do improvements, that it be made safer for people that want to ride bicycles and walk. So that was something that I supported. But anyway, I have the gentleman's name from the DOT. I have his business card if anybody's interested. He said he would happily answer any questions anybody might have. I've got his phone number and his email address. So I just wanted to give you guys an update on that because I know they contacted us about the informal meeting.
Yep. Okay. Mike, anything?
No further comment?
Okay. Matt?
So I had to get a new dump sticker and had a short conversation with the gentleman in the office, and I was interested to learn, and this is a push for people that aren't recycling to recycle because hauling a ton of waste is $65. Hauling a ton of recyclables is $5. So the more recycling you can do, the less hauling waste costs, and that's a significant difference. So just recycle.
Yeah, cool.
And it's single stream. It can't get any
can't
easier
get any easier.
than that.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. Anything else? No? Gage?
I'm good.
All right, and I have no further comments. Cindy's not here.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, moved by Gage, seconded by Matt. All those in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0-0. It is now 8:33 p.m. Thank you all.
Go to page 3 on line 15.
It says the planning board is not responsible for who must maintain the pipe. I think it would be easier if it said the planning board is not responsible for determining who must maintain the pipe.